Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, welcome to another Shenmue Dojo video. Today I'm wanting to talk a little bit about Shenmue Story, do a little bit of myth busting, and potentially talk about where we may go with it. Now this is, like I said, a very broad overview. I'm not going to go into too much detail around little story arcs, bits and pieces like that. I'm just wanting to go with a broader perspective of the Shenmue story, if you like. I will mention that I did a video on Shenmue 4 and what I'd like to see from it, and I go into a bit more detail in that video around the story elements, things I want resolved, etc, etc. So if you're interested in that side of things, watch that video. It's probably a better port of call than here. So, just before I dive in, I want to say thank you to Hiki. He's one of the staff members at the dojo who put together a blog post talking about the Shenmue story, how far through we are, and it's sort of inspired this video, if you like. So Hiki, thank you so much for writing that blog and all the work you do for the dojo currently. So, going into Shenmue's journey, we know that the Shenmue journey is a very, very large one. Now, for example, we know from the chapter tiles that it goes all around China, and I'll pull this up on the screen for you to see when I edit this thing out. So, we know it's a big journey going all over China. Interviews, publications, all the rest of it have stated that Shenmue, and this is from Yu Suzuki himself, Shenmue's journey, Ryo Suzuki's journey, if you like, will go between 18 months to 2 years, which is a long, long time. So when you think of where he starts in 1986 Yokosuka, where he may end up in, say, late 1988 potentially, that's a massive scope for development in terms of his character, his abilities as a martial artist, and also for the people around him. But I'll come on to that a little bit later. One of the big questions that's come around here is, why didn't Shenmue 3 end everything? Now, the simple answer to that question is, simply put, it wouldn't have been able to give it justice. Now, take away the complaints about Shenmue 3 for a minute. I'm not going to discuss it here. But if you try to finish the Shenmue story in Shenmue 3, you're essentially finishing off what would have been, at the time, 70% of the story, assuming all the chapter tiles are probably there or in place, if you like. Now, obviously, we don't know what changes are going to be there, but you'd be making anything between a 60 to 90 hour game on a Kickstarter budget. But let's be honest, that was never feasible. They were never going to be able to do that and do it justice in that time frame. Or even with the budget they had, quite frankly. So that's why. And I will go back to interviews from 2015 where they talk about Shenmue 3 not ending it. There's an interview with VG247 where this is just before Shenmue 3's release, where he's saying we're about 40% of the way through the story. I'm assuming things haven't been chopped and changed at this point. So that's sort of where the journey is. We're about 40% of the way through. Ryo has obviously left Niaowu and is on the cliff temple walking towards it, which obviously in my mind could be towards the Project Berkeley sort of stuff. But another thing that's leveled at Shenmue a little bit here is that it's just simply a revenge tale. Now, the main premise, the basic main arc, is around Ryo and his want to avenge his father's death. That is the very simplistic version of putting it. As we know, and as things develop and have done between 3 games, Ryo's lust for revenge is still there, but it's starting to dissipate. Obviously, he's met Zhuing in Shenmue 2, for example, who tells him about the evil path, gives him the example of Zimming and what happened there. We also have the dynamic that Ryo obviously isn't strong enough. He's been beaten by Lan Di once in Shenmue 1 and again in Shenmue 3. Granted, his abilities have improved, but he was nowhere near the level of Lan Di. So you look at that and go, how's he going to get there? How is Ryo going to take his revenge? Now, my view on this, and given where the chapter tiles are and where things lie, I personally don't think he will take revenge. I think Ryo's revenge arc is something within a bigger story around the Chiyu Men, the workings of the Chiyu Men, the law of the mirrors, and Shenfa's place in all of that as well, which we don't really know too much about at this point. I'm also, like I said, of the mind that there's other relationships to be developed, changed as things go on. Ren and Ryo's relationship, Ryo and Shenfa's relationship, we meet Zimming. There's all these things here that can't be finished, as some YouTubers will say, in a 1 hour anime. You can't do it. Beating Landy isn't the end goal here. The end goal for me is Ryo to progress through his journey. He may fight Landy again, but he may not take revenge, and actually he'll use his skills and all the lessons that he learns through his journey to become a better martial artist and look at the overall picture. Remember, the prophecy says basically that he will have the power to fulfill his wishes or it will destroy him. So there will be a point in this story where Ryo has that choice. Now, will it be that he beats Landy and he's about to deliver that killing blow? Possibly. Could it be another point where actually Ryo's lust for revenge gets somebody hurt, and that moment could destroy Ryo, but actually as part of his journey and how he progresses as a martial artist, that he draws on that strength, draws on his mistakes, learns from his mistakes, and becomes a better martial artist for it. There's so much here in the Shenmue story. Another bit is Landy being manipulated, for example. We know that Landy, and I'm going to do a character video on Landy at some point, we know Landy was taken in by the Chi-Men at a young age. Was he manipulated? Is there something there? We know nothing about Tentei, who is the top man or woman, even if in Shenmue, in terms of the Chi-Men. We don't know. But there is so much story left here. And I wanted to sort of touch on the chapter tiles a little bit, just to sort of structure out where things are. So I'm going to pull those up for everybody now. So here I've put these, just, you have to ignore my shocking Photoshop skills here. I just threw this together very quickly just to give us a good overview. So as things stand at the moment, we've obviously had this chapter card here where Ryo's left Yokosuka. We've had second part here where we've been to Hong Kong. This part here, the train, we've seen it in Project Berkeley, but at the moment it doesn't seem to be anywhere. Now, it could be repurposed, it could be moved, or it could be completely cut. We do not know. I am of the argument this chapter card here, certainly some of it with Yuandazu there and the fighting arenas here, I am of the view that that's combined into this section here a little bit. So we've essentially done this one, and then this one here. Now, as you can see at the back here, you've got Yang Lang there, Landy, and two other figures here who I'm not too sure who they are at this point. But they may crop up in future cards, or they've just moved things on. We really don't know. So this is essentially what we've done so far. And then coming into the other chapter cards here, we have got to a point where we've met Shenfa, we've been to Guilin, this has happened, and this is broadly Niaowu. And again, Yanglan's in the background here, as you can see. You've got Niao-sun there, Ryo in the middle, you've got his friends in the sun here, and then you've got what looks to be a martial arts master on Ryo's head training. So Ryo is going through his training arc in this area. So at this point, his training has really started, it's moving on. But again, he's nowhere near Landy, Zhuing, Grandmaster Bay, any of those people. He is not anywhere close. So that's where we are, chapter tiles, where we've got to here. So then as we move forward here, now this is the last chapter card I have in high res, so the next image may have to be a little bit selective in how we look at them. But here we see that he's again still training, but that he looks to be at the Cliff Temple in the mountains here. Now that would be a fairly accurate representation of what's happening here. You've got Shenfa down there screaming. Now, could that be because of her powers? Could it be because of something happening? We don't know at this point. And then moving forward, now I'm going to have to make this as big as I can because and I apologise, it's quite blurry. We've got to here in the analysis so far, and we've still got 4 cards here to move. So we've got here another bit of training, more training. Somebody is potentially dead or severely hurt in Ryo's arms. It looks like at the Forbidden City, and some eyes in the background there. And then you've got the final chapter card there where it looks like he's finished his training arc, he's finished his journey, and he's moving on to other things. So broadly speaking here, there is a massive journey for Ryo to go on. We don't know how long it's going to take there. Obviously, I'm making the assumption all these cards are going to make appearances because we may have had the story restructured for all we know. Then, one of the big things that's we still got a question mark over is the magic and the mysticism around Shenmue and the story. Now, in Shenmue 2, obviously we saw a lot of that with the floating sword, the ending to Shenmue 2. Some of that was retconned in Shenmue 3. But also we see a little bit around Shenfar's powers. Bad ending to Shenmue 2, Landy says, I'm going to take your power for the Chiyu Men. So there is something there that Shenfar is massively important to how things are going to go forward. We know her story is intertwined with Ryo's. Also, look into the fact that in Shenmue 3, we talk about her powers a little bit. We see some of her mind powers. She's done something to Yanglang. We don't know what that is. And also, in my view, she's done something to Ren where he's sort of changed his tack with her a little bit. Also, going into the Shenmue Online stuff, which I maintain was probably canon at the time, if we look at the trailer for it, she is commanding the Phoenix and drawing on her power. She changes from her standard outfit into that also Ming Village type clothing, if you like. And then Landy is commanding the dragon. So actually, in terms of Ryo's story, is he even going to fight Landy again? Are they going to have that magical battle between Shenfar and Landy? We don't know. We also know that in Project Berkeley, we see a glimpse of Shenfar's powers here as well, but I'm not going to go too much into that here. But what I'm saying is there is a massive plethora of story we haven't got to yet. And of course, this is just a fan theory. There's plenty more to happen here. And there's some really big events that I think will really shape Ryo's development as the thing moves forward. Now, it would be remiss of me to say this, but I'm going to address it anyway, is obviously Shenmue 4. Could it end the story? Yes, it could. Should it? I mean, from a personal point of view, no, but I can understand from budgetary perspectives, all the rest of it, it may have to. Now, I've done a video talking about all of those sorts of things, and I'd suggest go and watch that because I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video because it's not quite about that sort of thing. So, to summarise or conclude where we are, quite frankly, Shenmue Story has a long, long way to go. There are so many questions here that we haven't had answered yet, and that, quite frankly, we need answering. Zhuing Zimming, that's a big one. Did Iwao kill Landy's father? What's Ryo's journey going to look like? What's going to happen to Shenfar? Where does she sit in terms of the prophecy? What about Ren and what may or may not happen to him? And I have a theory on that, which is explained in another video as well. And then who is he going to encounter along the way? And what is going to shape his training? What is going to shape him as a person as we move through the chapters? That's what makes this story so exciting. That's what makes Shenmue so exciting, because it is this slow burn. And at the end of it, we are hoping to get the real big payoff where these questions are answered, but that we all want the best for Ryo, that he ends up as a fully fledged martial arts master who has gone beyond revenge, and actually his actions have fed into a much broader story here, such as the Chi Men and their involvement in the prophecy, etc. So guys, what do you think about Shenmue's story? Is 40% of the way a fair estimation here? Do you think we've had things cut? Do you think we've had things change? What do you guys think? Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think. As always, guys, give us a like, share, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the usual social media places. And I will be back with a video not too soon from now. But for now, guys, take care. All the best. Have a good one.